So it's a pleasure to introduce Andrea Sangiovanni from the University of Trieste, telling us about singular Calabi-Yau threefolds, Springer resolutions, and quiver gauge theories. Please.
Hello, everyone. So at first, thanks to the organizer for the invitation. Today, I'm gonna talk about some ongoing work with Roberto Valandro, my supervisor at the University of Trieste, and which is deals with singular Calabi-Yau threefolds, Springer resolutions, and quiver gauge theories. So in my talk, I will at first re-examine the Higgs mechanism for D7 brane backgrounds in F-theory, and also take into account unconventional Higgs webs. The main core of this talk is devoted to analyzing the relation of these phenomena with ADE singularities in Calabi-Yau spaces. And I'll also show you a new way to resolve these singularities called Springer resolution, and provide also some examples along the way. The motivation for all this work is to establish a precise connection between the Higgs webs and their geometrical counterpart, the Calabi-Yau manifolds, and also to extract physical information about the gauge theory of branes wrapped on these ADE singularities. As a start, let's consider the type 2B limit of F-theory. In this context, non-abelian gauge symmetries are realized by stacking D7 branes on top of each other. So as you can see in these pictures, we have two flat branes on top of each other, which realize an A1, which is equal to an SU2 gauge group. What we can do now is to switch on a VEV for the Higgs field that describes the deformations of these branes. The first choice that we can make is to switch on this VEV along the Cartan of the SU2 algebra. And this would be, for example, the matrix that we would get for the Higgs, where this parameter V, is a constant on the brane's word volume. What this means physically is that we are separating the two branes along the transverse direction, and we are breaking the symmetry to the relative U1 between the two branes. A further step we can make is to choose a VEV of the Higgs always along the Cartan, but with coordinates depending on the brane word volume. So this T varies along the brane word volume. And what we get physically is that now the two branes intersect each other. And on T different from 0, the symmetry is broken to the relative U1 as before. But on T equals 0, we see that there is an enhancement to SU2. Instead, less conventional choice of Higgs happens when we do not turn on an Higgs along the Cartan of the algebra. And for example, we could pick this matrix for the Higgs VEV, where the eigenvalues are plus or minus the square root of T, meaning that they are not single valued on the complex plane, and they are said to be monodromic. In this case, we see that the symmetry is broken to the center of mass U1 everywhere, also on T equals 0, because there is this one here that breaks the symmetry everywhere. These backgrounds were first studied in this paper in 2010, and they are also called T-branes, because if we put T equal to 0, we see that the matrix of the Higgs is an upper triangular matrix. The question now is, how can we relate these Higgs webs to the geometry in F-theory, for example? How can we extract the corresponding Calabi-Yau space? So this is the task that we want and try to address. For the AN case, the procedure is already known. And what we have to do is to compute the determinant of the Higgs matrix and see what comes out of this equation. So for the non-monodromic case, which is this one, where the matrix of the Higgs has single-valued eigenvalues, what we see in this example is that we obtain the equation of the conifold, which is a deformation of the A1 singularity. The conifold is singular at the origin, and in this case, we can see that at 2 cycle, a sphere can be blown up. Instead, in the monodromic case, which was this one, where the eigenvalues are not single-valued on the complex plane, what we see is that we obtain this surface where it turns out that no 2 cycle can be blown up. And this is due precisely to the fact that the eigenvalues of the Higgs are monodromic, that is not single-valued. Now we ask, what happens for more general Higgs webs, meaning Higgs fields that are not valued in the Cartan of some more general ADE gauge group, not only the AN cases? It turns out that a systematic procedure for this can be found using a mathematical tool that was already known in the literature, but that has not been used in this way up to now, that is called the Grothendieck-Springer resolution. So let me explain what this means exactly. The technical point that we need is that all the X-vectors, all the X matrices, monodromic and non-monodromic, can be classified using the so-called Levy subalgebras of G, where these Levy subalgebras are a special kind of subalgebras of all the commonly known Lie algebras in the ADE classification. Then theorems by Springer and Grothendieck show us that, roughly speaking, Levy subalgebras of a Lie algebra are in correspondence with partial or complete resolutions of singular ADE Calabi-Yau threefolds. So let me show you how this works with some practical examples. So let's pick an algebra, for example, A2, which is SU3, and choose a Levy subalgebra of A2. For example, this one with diagonal entries. One can show in a mathematically rigorous way that this L is in correspondence with the complete resolution of the deformed SU3 singularity. Complete resolution meaning that we are resolving all the nodes in the singularity, which has got this equation that I've written here at the bottom. And if we choose carefully T1 and T2 to depend on a unique parameter, T, this equation describes a threefold because we have 4 parameters, x, y, z, and t, and a single equation. A slightly different example can be found by adding some entries in the Levy subalgebra. So for example, considering this Levy subalgebra of SU3, and it can be proven that adding entries to the Levy subalgebra means highlighting which nodes we are choosing to resolve and which nodes we are choosing not to resolve. So in this case, this LP is in correspondence with the partial resolution of the deformed SU3 singularity, in which instead of resolving both of the nodes, we are resolving only one of the 2 cycles. So the equation that describes this situation is this one. And again, if we choose sigma 1 and sigma 2 to depend on a single parameter, t, we get an equation for a threefold. And the picture here depicts the fact that we are resolving only the black node of the A2 singularity and not the other one. A further example is the Reed pagoda, which can be seen as the monodromic deformation of the A3 singularity with this equation. And it is monodromic because we can prove that only the central node can be resolved of this singularity, as you can see in this picture. And the Levy subalgebra that corresponds to the Reed pagoda and that gives rise to that geometry is represented here in this matrix with 2 blocks. A more subtle example, instead, can be found by going to the DN case, and more specifically to the D4 case. And until now, that is the SO8 algebra. So until now, essentially only one example of D4 singular threefold was known where only the central node can be resolved. It is called Laufer's case and was analyzed, for example, in detail in this paper in 2001. And it possesses this equation that I've written here. The situation is then the following. We have the Dynkin diagram of D4, where we are resolving only the central node, the black one. What we have found is that there exists another instance of threefold with these properties, meaning that there exists another threefold with a D4 singularity at the origin where only the central node can be resolved. And it has got this equation here with A and B some constants. And the Levy subalgebra of SO8 that does the work of resolving only the central node of the singularity at the origin is depicted here at the bottom. Now, the question is, why do we care about these setups, for example, about these D4 setups? And the point is that we can wrap D5 branes around the resolved 2 cycles of the singularities. And what we get is an n=1 theory with superpotential described by a quiver. And for example, here I've depicted the quiver for the Laufer's case in the affine setup. And understanding these theories can be useful, for example, for large N dualities, as was explained in the same paper that I cited, that I quoted before. And using the techniques of Chiazzo, Katz, and Vafa, we have obtained also a superpotential for our D4 example, this one, for this threefold, which is this one, where X, Y, Z, and T are chiral superfields. So recapping what I've shown you, we can say that monodromic Higgses correspond to geometries where only some of the two cycles of the singularity can be resolved. And furthermore, this mathematical tool, the Grothendieck-Springer resolution, allows us to describe these geometries precisely. So the Springer resolution builds a bridge between the X vectors and their corresponding geometrical counterpart, the Calabi-Yau threefolds in this case. And finally, superpotentials for the theory of the D5 branes wrapped on the resolved cycles can, in some cases, be computed using already known techniques. And I've shown you one example for the D4 case. So looking at the future, what we want to do is to consider further example in the ADE classification and also apply this formalism based on Springer resolutions to concrete T-brane settings of maybe phenomenological interest. And that would be everything for me. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Andrea, for this very nice and clear talk. Questions? Yes.
Thank you for the nice talk. As a non-expert, I was just wondering about the quiver that you associated to the D5 branes for n equals 5. So when you draw the quiver, you have 2 vertices and 4 arrows. And yes. I was just wondering if you can elaborate on the construction of this quiver, as well as whether or not there are any relations that you would impose on these quivers. I mean,
yes.
In terms of the path algebra that you associate.
Yes, of course. So let me show you just a backup slide. So for example, here, the quiver that I've shown you is that works for the case of D4, for the Laufer's case. And what we start with is the affine quiver for that example, where we have all of a set of relations that it can be shown that they can be reduced if we choose to resolve only the central node. They can be reduced only to a set of relations, which then give rise to the picture that I've shown you here. So there remain only four fields going. One of these nodes is the central node of the D4 singularity, and the other one is the affine node. So there are a series of techniques to resolve all the initial relations to the ones that you see here. So instead, for example, in the case that I've studied, for the new example that I've shown you before, there are only 4 relations because relations for one node, because in that case we have studied the non-affine case where only one node was present. So only the central node of the D4 was considered.
So then, if I could ask just a very quick follow-up question. When you talk about the ADE singularity, may I possibly ask if you're referring to what is often known as Duval singularities or Kleinian singularities, or you have something else in mind?
No. Yes, that's precisely what I have in mind.
Yes, thank you very much. That's for me for today.
Thanks.
More questions, comments?